From the opening bell, Jake Paul wasted no time making a statement. He charged forward with confidence, firing off clean, accurate punches that left Julio César Chávez Jr. on the back foot right away. Chavez Jr., surprisingly tentative, offered no return fire, just kept his guard up and absorbed the pressure. Paul didn't hold back, zeroing in on the Mexican's body with crisp, punishing shots that seemed to set the tone early. A well-placed right hand cracked Chavez Jr. square on the head before the round ended, clearly signaling who was in control. As the second round got underway, Paul, now oozing confidence, slightly dropped his guard, almost taunting his opponent to throw something back. But Chavez Jr. didn't bite. That brief invitation passed, and Paul went back to business, launching into another relentless wave of punches. He owned the ring, dictating the pace and rhythm, while Chavez Jr. seemed stuck in reverse, unable or unwilling to press forward. Round 3 only intensified the drama. Paul turned up the heat, landing combination after combination with barely a pause. Chavez Jr. was on defense almost the entire round, covering up, blocking, dodging, but offering very little in the way of offense. Even when he slipped some of Paul's shots to the head, he simply couldn't find a moment to launch a counterattack. Paul looked faster, sharper, and far more prepared. By the 4th round, Chavez Jr. appeared to recognize he needed to start firing back. He finally threw a few punches, but most either whiffed or barely connected. When he did land, Paul immediately responded with a barrage of heavier shots, more accurate, more damaging, more frequent. There was no doubt about who was ahead. Paul's dominance was total. Chavez Jr. looked hesitant, perhaps unsure of what approach to take. He kept shelling up, rarely letting his hands go, while Paul continued to dictate every second of the fight. By round 5, the pattern had fully set in. Chavez Jr. had moments, glimpses, where he looked like he might turn a corner, but those flashes never lasted long. His punches lacked sting, and his footwork looked flat. Paul, on the other hand, maintained his composure and tempo. He stayed aggressive, smartly picking his shots and maintaining his distance when needed. Even when Chavez Jr. tried to press forward, he was met with resistance and sharp counters. Then came round 6, and things got rough for Chavez Jr. A vicious uppercut from Paul landed flush, rattling the Mexican fighter and forcing him to clinch for dear life. For a moment, it seemed like Paul might be ready to finish things. Chavez Jr. hung on, managing to sneak in a couple of body shots during a break in the action, but Paul took them without flinching. The toll of the bout was becoming visible. Chavez Jr. started to show signs of fatigue, clinching more often, his movements slower and less reactive. In round 7, the momentum briefly shifted. For the first time all night, the fight felt closer. Chavez Jr. found a bit of rhythm and began exchanging punches with more urgency. Both men landed some solid shots, and the crowd, sensing the intensity pickup, responded. While Chavez Jr. tried to take the initiative, Paul held his ground well, defending smartly and landing just enough to keep the edge. The 8th round delivered the fight's first real test for Paul. Chavez Jr., finally letting his hands go, with some purpose, landed a few strong punches that had the American on his heels. But Paul, to his credit, didn't panic. He shook off the sting and came roaring back with a furious combination that pushed Chavez Jr. back toward the ropes. It was a short-lived rally for the Mexican, as Paul re-established control before the bell. Entering round 9, a noticeable swelling had developed under Chavez Jr.'s left eye, a clear sign of the damage Paul's shots were doing. But the veteran wasn't ready to fade. In fact, this was arguably Chavez Jr.'s best round of the fight. He showed new energy, threw with confidence, and landed a series of hard, clean punches that had Paul adjusting. For the first time, Chavez Jr. looked like the sharper fighter in the ring, outlanding Paul and taking the round on many observers' cards. Then came the 10th and final round, a round that lived up to the hype. Both fighters came out with fire in their eyes, clearly hunting for a knockout to seal the deal. It was toe-to-toe action, back and forth exchanges that had the crowd on their feet. Every punch felt like it might be the one to end it. Paul threw with power and precision, while Chavez Jr. responded with grit and urgency. The bell rang with both men still swinging, wrapping up a memorable showdown that had all the drama boxing fans could ask for. When it was all said and done, the judges were unanimous. Jake Paul had done more than enough to secure the victory. It was a dominant performance for much of the fight, with Paul showcasing improved technique, patience, and ring control, while Chavez Jr. had his moments, particularly in the final few rounds. They came too late to swing the decision. This would marks another significant step forward in Jake Paul's boxing journey. He wasn't just the more active fighter, he looked like the more complete one. From body shots to head combinations, from footwork to strategy, Paul executed his game plan with focus and intensity. As for Chavez Jr., questions remain. Once a champion with pedigree and potential, his performance left many wondering if the fire that once defined him has faded. He showed glimpses of skill and heart, but for the most part, he seemed a step behind and lacking urgency. His late surge proved he still has something in the tank, but it wasn't enough to overcome the early rounds he gave away. In the end, fans got what they came for: 10 rounds of grit, power, and emotion, capped by a clear and deserved win for the American. Jake Paul didn't just win on the scorecards. He won over more critics and made another statement about where he stands in the boxing world. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, one thing's for sure: Jake Paul isn't just playing around in the ring anymore. He's here to compete, and he's not backing down.